I think it's helpful and important for all humans to know that we are living in a very special and particular kind of lifetime. And that's because we are living at a time between ages. One age is completing and another is birthing. And ages have everything to do with how humans channel consciousness, thus creating very clear dynamics and how we operate on the planet. Now, not every lifetime happens during a shift of consciousness, but this one does. And when consciousness shifts, everything shifts. Leadership, identity, belief systems, our nervous systems, technology, relationships, how we experience truth. So it may feel like the ground is moving because in a way it is. Reality is malleable, and a shift in ages is a shift in consciousness. And a shift in consciousness shifts the fabric of reality. So it's important for us to understand what's happening so that fear does not disrupt this natural process, and so that we can begin to orient ourselves into a new perspective, a new consciousness. And when we understand this transition, we can move through it more gracefully. So yes, it does feel a bit like chaos, but it's not random chaos. There is a larger rhythm at play. So let's look at that rhythm. Astronomically, the Earth does not spin perfectly upright. It has a very slow wobble, sort of like a spinning top trying to find its balance. And this wobble is called the precession of the equinoxes. So basically, over the span of roughly 26,000 years, the axis of the Earth is tracing a slow circle in the sky. And because of that wobble, the point where the sun rises on the spring equinox around March 22nd is slowly shifting backwards through the zodiac constellations. So that means that about every 2,000-ish years, that equinox point moves into a new constellation. And that shift is what ancient cultures called an age. So when we talk about the shifting of an age, this is not mystical made up woo. It's not symbolic talk. It's astronomical. It's measurable. So whatever sign the sun is rising in at the spring equinox gives us a clue about the dominant archetypal tone organizing human consciousness in a specific era. So to put this into working context, let's go back to the age of Taurus, just to start somewhere, to get into this understanding. The age of Taurus ran roughly from 4,300 before Common Era to about 2150 BCE. This was the great grounding era, and Taurus is an earth sign, and its glyph is the bull. And in this time period, humanity moved from primarily being hunter-gatherer tribes into agricultural civilizations. This is when we begin to see the formation of the Sumer and Mesopotamia rise. It was the time of early Egypt in the Old Kingdom phase, the pyramid builders. It's the time of the Indus Valley civilization and the early Minoan culture in Crete. Taurus is earth, as I said. It's fertility, stability, food security. This is the age where humanity learned to live on the earth instead of just surviving in nature. This is where we built cities, we stored grain, we tracked the stars to know when to plant the things. Divinity was experienced through the land, the rivers, the body. Then the equinox shifted, and around 2150, before Common Era, we moved into the age of Aries. And this is the era of empires and conquest. The Akkadian Empire, Babylon, Assyria, Persia, the expansion of Greece and Rome, the kingdoms of ancient Israel all took root during this age. Hierarchy intensified. Kings ruled by divine authority. Law codes solidified. Warfare expanded. If Taurus was stabilizing the earth, Aries was about asserting identity and power. The ego of civilization developed. Humanity was learning more about separation. There's us and there's them. There's the ruler and the ruled. And the notion that there was something to be controlled and conquered became part of the consciousness. And then we move into the age of Pisces. And Pisces began to shift the focus from kings to belief. Instead of the ruler speaks for God, it became the scripture speaks for God. And of course, belief has a lot to do with the interpretation of that scripture. So this is a time frame when Christianity was birthed, and it began to spread through Rome. Rabbinic Judaism was developed, the influence of modern-day Judaism. Islam emerged. Buddhism expanded further across Asia. Eastern spiritual traditions increasingly took root in the West. It was a time of growing spirituality, but structures were given on how to give reverence to spirit. Humanity began to learn empathy and devotion, but also dependency on external authority for truth. Now, we are at a threshold of Aquarius, and this is why this lifetime matters. We are living through the transition between the age of Pisces and into the age of Aquarius, from belief-based consciousness to experience-based consciousness, from tell me what to believe to I experienced this myself and I know it to be true. From let me go to the priest or the reverend or the rabbi to know God, to let me know what's in my heart to know God. Aquarius is air. It governs networks, electricity, our nervous systems, the collective intelligence. We can already see this shift happening. There's been greater global connectivity. Technology is advancing rapidly. There's been a decentralization of information, more awareness on vibration, frequency, energy. Aquarius is when authority begins to move inwards. Instead of kings, instead of institutions, consciousness itself becomes the reference point. The collective mind is how we come to know God's source. It's the energy expressed through all of us. But every archetype does have its polarity. And the shadow of Aquarius is coldness, disembodied technology, artificial intelligence, human beings becoming machine-like, disconnected, without heart, and overly meditated through screens and systems. Aquarius can become robotic if it loses that human pulse. But the light of Aquarius is extraordinary. It is unity without uniformity. It is individuality celebrated within the collective. It is direct knowing rather than blind belief. It's nervous system coherence. It's knowing yourself as an electrical being and being able to regulate your system and get it in sync with the greater one. It is energy literacy and energy hygiene. It's the experience of all things having energy, and that energy interconnects all of us. So for example, if I pick up an object at a store that someone else had just picked up, there is a transference of energy. And that's important for us to know, because we're learning that not all the emotions and feelings that are passing through this body vehicle are actually ours. We pick things up from our environment all the time. And this is a very Aquarian concept. Aquarius says we are all connected, we are all different, and we all belong. And here's the deeper truth. The dark is not something to fear. Polarity is part of embodiment. Light and shadow are always present. The work of this age is not to eliminate darkness, but to integrate it consciously so it doesn't unconsciously run and ruin our lives. We are not victims of a collapsing world. We are midwives reorganizing a new one. And not every lifetime gets to say that. Quantum healing yoga is a practice that is ideal to bring us into the Aquarian age. Many of the teachings within the practice are direct transmissions for the Aquarian age consciousness. But the physical practice itself also helps to entrain our nervous system, expand perception, neutralize polarity, and give us a direct experience of source so that we remember we never needed a middleman to know God. The light of God, it's here. And as we recognize it in self, we will naturally recognize it in all sentient beings. I look forward to the next time we raise spirit together. Thank you for being here. Thank you for helping humanity to get to the next level of consciousness needed in the Aquarian age. See you on the mat soon. Sat Nam.